Alrighty, my friend. I came downstairs just now, again, with my dog and my book, The Kitchen God's Wife. Alright, let's begin. Reading helps me to pronounce words better and just gets me a sense of confidence in speaking. When I communicate my ideas, I just felt the spirit of authors, the great authors who wrote these beautiful essays, books. I aspire to be a writer who published books that could, entertain, impact people all over the world. Okay, this is Kitchen God's Wife by Amy Tan. I think I was on page 300. Hold on. Oh yeah, not yet. Maybe I just finished. Oh yeah, okay. On chapter 15, page 321. A flea on a tiger's head. One time your father gave a sermon called Jesus Forgives You. Can you? I liked that sermon a lot. It gave me a peaceful feeling, letting go of my anger. I remember right after that, the Italian man who owned the hardware store treated me mean, yelled at me just because I wanted money back for a light bulb already burned out when I bought it. He pretended he could not understand me. My English wasn't good enough, so no money back. I got mad, but then I said to myself, forgive. I was thinking about what your father said. Letting Jesus' tears from the cross wash all my anger away. And it worked. I was no longer angry. So I tried to tell the hardware man how I put the light bulb in my socket. Right away he interrupted me, said, "You bought it, you broke it." I got mad again. I said to myself, forgive. Again, it worked. I stopped my anger, but then the man said, "Lady, I got a business to run." And I said, "You should have no business." I let myself get mad. I forgave. And that man didn't learn anything. Who was he to criticize me? His English wasn't so good either. Italian accent. So you see, that's the way I am. Easy to get mad, hard to forgive. I think it is because of Wenfu. I can never forgive him. I can't excuse him because of that accident. I can't excuse what happened later. Why should I? I only feel bad that maybe your father will think my heart is not big enough. But then I also think, when Jesus was born, he was already the Son of God. I was the daughter of someone who ran away, a big disgrace. And when Jesus suffered, everyone worshipped him. Nobody worshipped me for living with Wenfu. I was like that wife of kitchen god. Nobody worshipped her either. He got all the excuses. He got all the credit. She was forgotten. About a year after Wenfu's accident, at the start of 1939, I returned to that same hospital, this time to have another baby. Hulan was with me. She saw me pay 100 Chinese dollars out of my dowry money for a first-class private room. That was a lot of money back then, like paying 1,000 or 2,000 American dollars today. Wenfu did not come to see me until 2 days later, after I had the baby, another girl. So the first time I saw my baby, I was by myself. When she opened her mouth and cried, I cried too. When she opened her eyes, I hoped she liked what she saw. Her new, smiling mother. When she yawned, I told her, "Oh, how smart you are to learn this so quickly." By the time Wenfu came, His eyes were red drunk from too much celebrating. He was wearing his Air Force uniform, and whiskey smells followed him into the room. The baby was asleep. He peered into her face and laughed, saying, my little thing, over and over again. He tried to open her curled-up hand. Oh, she's very ugly, he joked. Bald as a monk, fat as a greedy one. How could I come to have such an ugly child? And so lazy too. Wake up, you little Buddha. Watching the way his eyebrows were dancing, I could tell he was happy. He was trying to charm his own daughter. And then he picked up in his drunken hands, and the baby flung her arms out and began to cry. He bounced her up and down in his arms, and she cried louder. What's this? He said. What is the matter now? Softer, be gentle, I suggested. But he did not listen to me. He began to lift her up and down as if she were a little airplane. He sang her a loud drinking song. Still she kept crying. I held my arms out and he gave her up. In a few moments she was quiet, and then I saw Wenfu's face. He was not relieved. He was not relieved, smiling with joy. He was angry, as if the little baby had insulted him, as if a baby only 1 day old were choosing favorites. I was thinking to myself, what kind of person would blame a baby? What kind of man always puts himself first, even before his own child? And then the nurse came into the room to give me some medicine. Right away, Wenfu told her he wanted something to eat, a good hot soup, noodles and beef tendons. He ordered this dish fast like a customer in a restaurant. He told her not to be skimpy with the meat. That's what he always said in a restaurant. He also told her to bring him a good rice wine, not the cheap local brand, but the best. Before he could continue, the nurse interrupted him. Sorry, no food for visitors, only for patients. Wenfu stared silently for a moment, and then he banged his fist on the wall. You are the one who still has 2 eyes. He shouted at the nurse. Don't you see I'm a war hero? He pointed to his eye, the one still dropping from the accident. I wanted to tell the nurse he's no hero. That was not the way it happened, how he got his bad eye. Just the opposite. But the nurse had already left the room. And then I made a big mistake. I told Wenfu not to be a nuances. Nuances? I don't know the word. Nuisance. Actually, I did not say this word nuances. Nuances. I could never have said something so directly like that to my husband. So what I probably said was, they're busy. And because I was excusing them, Wenfu became even more angry. He was cursing the hospital, shouting at the top of his voice. I was begging him to calm down. For the baby, I said, a baby has just come into the world. A baby should not hear such things. But already the baby was crying again. Wenfu stopped shouting. He stared at his little girl, so angry at her new outburst. Then he left. Good, I thought, he's gone. Not even 5 minutes had passed before the nurse ran back into my room, trembling mad. That man who is your husband? What kind of crazy person is he? And then she told me how Wenfu had gone downstairs to the hospital kitchen. He had pushed the cooks out of the room. He had picked up a big cleaver, the kind you used to chop a large bone in half, and pa. He chopped out the table, the walls, the chairs. He knocked over jars and dishes. He smelled each pot, cursed its contents, and dumped out all the food they were cooking. Finally, when the blade broke, he threatened all the cooks and their helpers who were watching from the door. If you report that I did this, I will come back and chop your bones in half. When I heard this, I was so ashamed. I could think of no excuses to offer. I asked the nurse to forgive me for bringing this trouble into the hospital. I promised to pay the hospital another 100 yuan. I promised to later apologize myself to all the workers in the kitchen. After the nurse left, I thought about this question she had asked. What kind of crazy person was my husband? This time I was not blaming myself for having married him. I blamed his mother for having given birth to him, for tending to all his desires as if she were his servant, for always feeding husband and son first, for allowing me to eat only after I had picked off bits of food stuck to my father-in-law's beard, for letting the meanness in her son grow like a strange appetite, so that he would always feel hungry to feed his own power. And perhaps this was wrong of me, to blame another woman for my own miseries. But that was how I was raised, never to criticize men or the society they ruled, or Confucius, that awful man who made that society. I could blame only other women who were more afraid than I. And now I began to cry, and my baby cried with me. I put her to my breast. She would not eat. I rocked her gently. No use. I sang her a soft song. She was not listening. She cried for so long until she no longer had enough breath to cry out loud. She cried from down below, in her stomach, and I knew she was scared. A mother knows these things instantly about her own baby, whether she is hungry or tired, wet or dry, wet or in pain. My baby was scared, so I did something I thought was right. I lied. What a good life you will have, I murmured to her. That man who was shouting, nobody will know. Not your father, certainly not. Your father is a gentleman. Your real father will come see you soon. Better not cry. And soon, she calmed down. She went to sleep. That night I named her Equal. Pleasure over bitterness. Oh. Two opposite words. The good one first to cancel out the bad one second. This was when characters were written one on top of the other. In this way, I was wishing my daughter a life of comfort, winning out over hardship. I loved that baby right from the start. She had mortals, same years, but equal. But Equal opened her eyes and searched for me. She would drink only my milk, refused that of her sonanai, her milk nurse. So I sent the sonanai away. You see, Yiku knew I was her mother. I would lift her high in the air, and we would laugh together. She was smart too, not even 3 months old, and she already knew how to put her hands together and touch my hair. Never grabbling. But whenever Wenfu began to shout, she always cried all night long, and would not stop until I told her more lies. Equal, be good, and your life will be good too. How could I know that this is how a mother teaches her daughter to be afraid? One day, perhaps 6 months after Equal had been born, the servant girl came to me, telling me she had to leave. She was 14 years old, a small girl, always obedient, so Hulan had no reason to scold her. When I asked why she wanted to leave, she excused herself and said she was not a good enough worker. That was the Chinese way, to use yourself as an excuse, to say you are unworthy, when really you mean you are worth more. I could guess why she was unhappy. Over the last few months, Hulan had started asking the girl to do lots of little tasks that turned into big ones. And that poor girl, who never knew how to refuse anyone, soon had twice as much work for the same amount of money I paid her. I did not want to love her. I did not want to lose her. So I told her, you are an excellent servant, never lazy, deserving of even more money, I think. She shook her head. She insisted she was unworthy. I said, I have praised you often, don't you remember? She nodded. And then I thought maybe Hulan had been treating her in a mean way, scolding her behind my back, and now this girl couldn't take it anymore. Oh, I was mad. Has someone else been causing you problems? I said to the girl. Someone is giving you trouble, am I right? Don't be afraid, tell me. She began to cry, nodding her head without looking at me. Someone is making it hard for you to work here? Is this so? She nodded again, more tears, and then she told me, Who? Tai Tai, he's not well, very sick, I know this, so I'm not blaming your husband. Blame? What is your meaning for bringing up this word? I said it was summertime, but a chill rushed over my body, and I ordered the girl to speak. I listened from a faraway place as the servant girl begged me to forgive her, slapped her own face twice, and confessed she was the one who was wrong. She was the one who was wrong. She said she was the one who was weak for letting him touch her. She cried and prayed for me to not say anything to my husband. And now I don't remember exactly how I got all her words out, how I pulled them out, one by one. But that afternoon I found out that my husband had started to put his hands on her while I was in the hospital, that she had struggled each time, and each time he had raped her. She did not say rape, of course. A girl that young and innocent, how could she know such a word? She knew only how to blame herself. I had to ask her many times. The bruise on her face that she claimed was her own clumsiness, was that time he had tried once before? The times she claimed to be ill, always in the morning, was that after it happened? Each time the girl confessed something, she cried and slapped her own face. I finally told her to stop hitting herself. I patted her arm and told her I would settle this problem for her. Her face became scared. What will you do, Tata? I said, this is not your worry anymore. And then I felt so tired and confused I went upstairs to Yiku's room. I sat in a chair and watched my baby daughter sleeping, so peaceful in her bed. What an evil man! How could I have known such an evil man existed on this earth? Last year's accident had taught him nothing. And then I thought, what will people think when they find out? What will they think of me if I take sides against my husband and defend a servant girl instead? I imagined Hulan scolding me, accusing me of seeing only the worst in everything and everybody. I saw others criticizing me for not managing my house better. I could imagine people laughing, a husband who chases after a servant girl because if his own wife is not enough, the classic old story. And then I thought to myself, what he did was wrong. Maybe it was a crime, but not a big one. Many men did those kind of things with servants, and who would believe a servant girl? My husband would say she lied. Of course he would. He would claim that the girl seduced him, a big hero. Or he would say she had already slept with many pilots. He could say anything. And what could I gain? What would I gain by accusing my husband? I would get a big fight from him in return. Pitiful looks from Hulan and Jaguar, all that shame. So what would it matter? What would it matter if I tried to help that girl? What would I gain? Only trouble in my own bed. And then what would I lose? I could not even begin to imagine that. I sat down and remembered a saying old aunt used to tell me whenever I complained that I had been wrongly accused. Don't strike a flea on a tiger's head. Don't settle one trouble only to make a bigger one. So I decided to say nothing, do nothing. I made myself blind. I made myself deaf. I let myself become just like Hulan and Jaguar. That time they said nothing when Wenfu slapped me. I gave the servant girl 3 months' wages. I wrote her a good recommendation. She went away. I don't know where. I think she was grateful she could quietly leave. And when Wenfu asked 2 days later where the servant girl was, I said, that girl? Oh, she got an offer from her mother to marry a village boy, so I sent her home. Several weeks later, I heard the servant girl was dead. Hulan told me while I was nursing Yiku. She said the girl had gone to someone else's house to work, and one morning after the girl knew she was pregnant, she used the old country way. She took a piece of straw from a broom, poked her womb until she began to bleed. But the bleeding never stopped. Oh my fucking god. So stupid to use a piece of straw like that. Like Hulan and the family who took her in. Oh yo, so mad that she brought a ghost on them. Lucky for us, she didn't die in our house. While Hulan talked, I felt strange, as if I were feeling that slap on my face all over again. Everyone in the room looking down on me, saying this was my fault. I could see that girl lying on the floor, her blood spilled all around. People lamenting only that she had left a big mess behind. Of course, Hulan didn't know it was Wenfu who got that girl in trouble. Or maybe she knew and wasn't saying anything. Still, how could she think this way? Criticizing a helpless servant girl, congratulating us for being rid of her before she turned into a ghost. Why was she not thinking of her own sister, the one who died almost the same way? And I was just as bad because I had become almost like Hulan. No sympathy, only relief that I had avoided trouble for myself. After Hulan left, I picked up Iku and went upstairs. I told her, "Don't be like me. You see how helpless I am. Don't be like me." Okay, when Wenfu came home that night, I showed him my anger for the first time. I had waited until after the evening meal, after late rounds of tea and card games, gossip and laughter. "That little servant girl, you remember her?" I said when we were up in our room, the day she died. Wenfu was taking his shoes off. "My slippers, where are they?" I could hear Hulan and Jiaguo still talking downstairs in the kitchen. I closed the door to our room. I repeated what I had said, louder this time. "The servant girl is dead." And when he continued to ask for his slippers, I added, "She died trying to get rid of your baby, you fool." He stood up. "What's your meaning? Whose lies have you been listening to?" he said. He leaned toward me, staring, one eye droopy, the other large, wide open. I did not look down. I stared back at him, so strong. I had a new feeling, like having a secret weapon. And suddenly, wham, he knocked over a chair. He cursed. He was shouting at me. Who are you to accuse me?" Iku was now crying in the next room, a scared kind of crying. I started to go toward her room, but Wenfu shouted for me to stop. I did not listen, and I went to her and saw she was standing up in her crib, reaching with one arm to be comforted. I picked her up and soothed her. Wenfu followed me, still shouting, knocking things over, but I was not afraid. This time, he did not scare me. I put Yuku back in her crib. "I know what happened," I shouted back. "You pushed that girl down, ruined her life, who knows how many others. And now I'm telling you, you do your dirty business somewhere else. In the streets, I don't care. Not in my bed anymore." He raised his fist. I did not look away or cover myself. "Hit me. I still won't change," I shouted. "Hero, big hero. The only one you can scare is a baby." He looked surprised. He looked toward Iku, standing behind me in her crib. She was crying hard. He put his hand down. He walked over to the crib very fast, and I thought he was sorry that he had made her cry. I thought he was going to pick her up and say he was sorry. And then before I could even think to stop him, he slapped her. Qua! Hit her hard on the face, so hard half of her face turned red. "Quiet!" he shouted. Her eyes were pinched closed. Her mouth was open, but no sounds came out. She could not breathe. So much pain. I could still see the look on her face, hurting worse than any slap to my own. I rushed over to Iku, but Wenfu pushed me away and I fell. And then I heard her cry again. Her breath finally came back, and she cried even louder, higher. Qua! Wenfu hit her again. Qua! Again and again. And by the time I could get to my feet and push my body in between, I saw Iku had rolled up into a little ball. She was making small animal sounds, and I was crying and begging Wenfu, "Forgive me, I was wrong, forgive me." After that, every time Iku saw her father come into the room, she fell down and curled herself up, small just like the first time. She sucked her fingers, making little sounds. This is true, only 6 months old, and she had learned not to cry. Can you imagine a baby who learned to be that scared before she even knew how to crawl away? She became a strange baby. She never looked at people's faces. She pulled out hair from one side of her head. She bent her head on the wall. She waved her hands in front of her face and laughed. And when she learned how to walk, she stood on her toes, like a ballerina dancer. She tiptoed quickly across the floor, as if she could lift herself up into the air with each step. But each time she saw her father come into the room, she fell back down again, same as when she was a baby. She did not cry. She spoke no words, only the outside shapes of them, like the voice of a ghost. Her voice sang up and down, high and pretty, sounding the way I often called to her. "Iku, look at me, look at me." And then her voice would become harsh, grunting the same way Wenfu shouted, "Iku, stupid thing, go away." Those were the only sounds she knew how to make. She was strange all the time. I was worried, so worried, but Hulan kept telling me, when she's older, she'll change. Now she's just nervous. Everyone's the same way. When the war is over, she'll change. You'll see. I wanted to believe her. Why wouldn't I? I had never raised a baby. I didn't want to think my baby had lost her mind. I kept thinking the war would soon be over. Then Iku would get better. I believed that. one hope leading to the other. Wow, fucking crazy. This is so intense. This makes me so sad. Alright. Thanks for reading with me. Crazy story. 停止录像。